Good evening. Before I begin, just after listening to Minister Prasad, I have to say congratulations to the nation and the people of India. It is very exciting to see the growth and the advancement that your nation is pursuing in technology and the way that that is enriching the lives of your people. And I look forward to seeing more of that. It's a very encouraging thought from Minister Prasad. Unfortunately, as the former intelligence officer and national security advisor, it often falls to me in these conferences to bring bad news. I hope that won't constitute too much of my conversation tonight, but I have two goals for this evening, and specifically I would like to talk to you about first identifying some of the key trends that are driving national security perspectives on technology. And then secondly, I'd like to discuss a few of the defining variables that are going to shape the future of conflict. The reality is we are in an age of expanding global competition and narrowing strategic advantage between great powers. For example, in the digital domain, many of the democratic norms that we enjoy are inviting authoritarian challenges. So in the case of the United States, for example, our economic prosperity and our strong technology sector are acting as a type of crowdsourced or outsourced research and development program for governments that are willing to either steal intellectual property or force its transfer through coercive economic policies. Our commitment to the rule of law, while certainly a necessary hallmark of good governance, at times constrains us when adversaries use these laws against us. Our free and open societies have very low barriers to entry for any nation that is seeking to conduct information operations against our political leaders or our populations. In fact, I am increasingly convinced that many social media companies are little more than optimized influence platforms that can assist foreign nations in micro-targeting whatever audience they might seek to do. Now, at the same time, U.S. lawmakers and increasingly lawmakers and decision makers in countries like India are receiving briefings from their military and national security establishments informing them that their military overmatch, their relative military superiority is eroding, and that erosion is actually beginning to speed up. That is certainly the case in the United States. With that erosion of American military superiority also goes our ability to bring our friends and partners along. And so these realities, coupled with ongoing political realignments in many democracies, is now provoking a sense of optimism and invoking a sense of aggression in some of our authoritarian challengers. This is the context. This is most acutely seen, I think, in the cases of Russia and in China. As Moscow seeks to break up what it calls the unipolar global system, and as Beijing seeks to supplant Western dominance in its search for comprehensive national power, the U.S.'s dependence on technology becomes an obvious target. As a free and open society that has gone through great lengths to significantly leverage itself on technology, to use technology for the betterment of governance and for the betterment of its people, there is a dark side to that. And so one of the realities is that we are innovating faster than we can secure. And this is both a naturally occurring phenomenon in a dynamic technological innovation hub, but it has also been a strategic choice, a short-sighted choice by many in that sector. Many national security leaders are beginning to realize this difficulty, realize the erosion of overmatch, realize the aggressive nature of some of our authoritarian challengers, while also realizing that the governments lack the unilateral capability to address this challenge. I'll speak only for the United States, but the United States government simply cannot take a unilateral action that will reassert its military superiority or that will unilaterally fill the holes in our cyber security. And the reality is that a significant portion of the national security burden is now migrating into the private sector. And industry is a key stakeholder on issues that were formerly the exclusive domain of the state. So for example, Mr. Zuckerberg here, Facebook has well over 200 individuals who are tasked with counterterrorism. Just think about that for a moment. Facebook is a social media platform. It's where we go to see pictures of people's kids and puppies and vacations and all kinds of things. And they have 200 personnel dedicated to counterterrorism. This is a picture of Mr. Zuckerberg when he was called before Congress after the 2016 election campaign, after a foreign nation had conducted an information operation targeting the American political system. And he was being asked by the political leaders of my country why he didn't stop it, as though that was part of his job. So this is the new reality. And both the state and the private sector are struggling to accept and to adapt to this new reality of a shared national security burden. Now, as democracies consider our vulnerabilities as well as our challengers' capabilities, we are again turning toward technological advantage for salvation. We're trying to innovate our way out of this. And most acutely, this is being seen in a turn toward artificial intelligence and the technologies that AI will enable. This will usher in a new type of warfare that threatens to exceed everything previously experienced in terms of complexity, in terms of speed, and in terms of scale. And my honest assessment has to be that we're not ready. The next great powers war will likely approximate something akin to the total war that has been envisioned by many scholars. Warfare where all of a country's available resources, both militarily as well as civilian, are employed. And this new type of conflict is going to require a new type of genius. And I want to talk a little bit about those variables that are likely to shape that future world. First, complexity. These conflicts are going to get crowded very quickly. What I mean by that is that at the time of conflict, even preceding the actual beginning of what we would call hostilities, we will have a crowded context that consists of states acting online, companies acting online, mercenary hacking syndicates, even individuals. And leaders will have to understand and engage all of these groups, and they will also have to understand how to leverage them and to use them. So as we think about our countries engaging in these challenges going forward, it is not going to be a purely political, purely military exercise. It is going to be a much more comprehensive effort if we are to thrive. As we engage in AI-enabled conflict and as we leverage and build and deploy AI-enabled capabilities, we are also going to face a temptation to overestimate our understanding. It is no doubt that we are going to know more than we ever have. Everyone from the captain leading a squad to the president or other leader of a country will have more information at his or her disposal than any other time in the history of the world. That is absolutely the case. However, we're going to come to a place where we we begin not knowing how we know things. What do I mean? Well, it's already commonplace for AI algorithms to identify patterns, to draw conclusions, and even to communicate with other AI algorithms in ways that humans do not fully understand. These are referred to as black box problems or black box challenges, things that we can't articulate an explanation for. And this will be a key challenge with AI-enabled conflict and warfare. So what we can imagine is that certainly these first-generation AI capabilities will be very effective. They'll be discrete. They'll be tailored to specific challenges like AI is now. It'll be narrow in its application, and it will likely be very good. And so over the course of time, we'll find ourselves outsourcing thousands of small decisions to AI without really even thinking about it. In the same way that you might outsource your decision as to what is the most efficient way to go home to Google Maps. You don't really question it. You say, take me home. And it gives you a pattern that says, this is the fastest way. And you say, great. And you take it, and you go. There's no review, there's no interrogation, and over the course of time, that application has earned your trust, and so you trust it. Well, it's likely to be similar when we think about AI-enabled warfare and capabilities. We will outsource, in the beginning, many, perhaps even thousands of small decisions, and it will result in a type of efficiency, and that will build an internal trust. But that likely will not remain in the category of only small decisions. So for example, we're not there yet, but it is completely foreseeable that we might have a type of AI political analysis algorithm, something that we can point at the news of the day, that can also incorporate all kinds of military intelligence, something that can also look at economic issues and overhead imagery, and then begin to help us make political assessments. Work on this is already being done. Well, what happens when a political AI assesses that in 36 and a half hours, country A is going to launch a preemptive attack on country B, and that if a response is not generated that preempts that preemptive attack, then there is a 62.8% chance of total failure. But your human analysis cannot explain why that algorithm has drawn those conclusions or how it can confirm or deny those. This is going to be a challenge. Finally, with AI, it will be authoritative until it isn't. All an enemy will have to do is introduce doubt into the reliability of the underlying data or of the algorithms to cause us great concern. Second, speed. Sun Tzu has said that the speed is the essence of war, and this is certainly going to be the case. This will necessitate, I think, a rise in automation. We are currently already doing this. So in the ways that we protect personnel on bases, to the way we protect ships on the sea, to the way we protect planes in the air, we use automated defensive capabilities that, unless a human intervenes, will identify threats, target them, and respond. In the digital domain, the distinction between defensive and offensive capabilities is negligible. And so when we think about cybersecurity and concepts like active defense, it is not unreasonable to think about the possibility of AI algorithms that will proactively scout and do threat hunting, identify a target, repel it out of a system, and then perhaps even chase it out of the system in a way to prevent any data that they might have stolen from being used and perhaps even stealing it back. Is that offensive or defensive? When we think about the proliferation of challenges like hypersonics, we can imagine automated responses there, so on and so forth. And then finally, scale. The days of our militaries fighting wars while our citizens shop in malls will be over in these black box wars. Our citizens and private sector may not be bombed, but they will almost certainly be attacked via doxing, DDoS attacks, and other attacks. Our political decision-making process will be under significant stress, which will be further interrupted by fake news and deep fakes, AI-generated videos, hyper-realistic videos of showing people doing things they never did. Imagine how difficult it will be if on the same day millions of our citizens cannot access their bank accounts because of a cyber attack on the financial system, while a highly believable fake video is published showing your head of government in some sort of compromising context. This will assert a level of pressure on political leaders and institutions that I fear they're ill-suited for. So, very briefly, what must we do? There are no easy answers. Black box wars will require previously unknown levels of cooperation between the public, private, and civil society sectors, and it will take a new type of strategic genius being present in all three sectors if we are to thrive. We should therefore begin convening trust-building conversations between the state, industry, and civil society with the express purpose of sharing insights into the intentions and capabilities of our key challengers, and we cannot allow legacy information classification to constrain these discussions. Industry specifically must recognize its growing role in national security and realize that there are actors on the world stage who will not allow them to be neutral geopolitical actors. Efforts to force companies to choose a flag are only going to increase, and these companies must decide for themselves how to navigate this dynamic. Finally, in closing, we should consider this challenge. I would not encourage us to consider this challenge in despair. Instead, we should consider it and all of its difficulties and determine to use our considerable resources to rise to the challenge so that free peoples can thrive in a world that is emerging. Thank you.